Mike said, man, you can't guard him. I said, Mike, you can't guard me. End of the game, I ended with 33, right? Mike had 30-something. We lost. We were going through the handshake line, and Joe went up to Mike and said, man, would you leave my young fella alone? He said, man, JJ my guy, but just tell him that's why he's wearing my shoes.
Podcast P fam, welcome back to another episode of Podcast P, a Waive original. I'm joined by my guys, Dallas Rutherford.
I'm happy to be here. Let's just move it along to Jackie now.
And Jackie Long.
Shabba-dabba, twee.
Ladies and gentlemen, we never fail to deliver with another special guest. Our guest today is an Ohio State legend. He won UPI National Player of the Year and had his jersey retired by the school. He was selected 4th overall in the 92 NBA draft and went on to have a 14-year career as one of the smoothest scorers. Please welcome our guest, Jim Jackson, baby. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. OG. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story mode, but we're going to do things a little bit different, given our guest, Jim Jackson, is an analyst. So with that being said, you know, a lot of stuff been going on around the league. It's been a busy week. So we want to get into that as well as, you know, shifting gears on your career and the stories and, you know, the times that you've been in the league. So with that being said, Dal, fill us in.
So I want to talk with the Dallas Mavericks, and I do want to kind of get like a player perspective, and then I kind of want to hear your perspective as an analyst. And obviously, the Dallas Mavericks got Cooper Flagg last week. They've put together a nice roster. They just signed D'Lo. Kyrie's going to be returning in the spring. And just a couple months ago, you know, Nico was getting a ton of flack for letting go of Luka. I mean, that was one of the craziest, you know, moves we've seen in a while. So from a player's perspective, P, with the roster that they have now, I want to know, do you think that the Mavericks got better?
That's a tough question with what they gave up, right? Like, you don't minimize what Luka has been for that franchise. But when you think about a team being constructed with what Cooper can bring, with a healthy Kyrie coming back, probably more later, second half of the season, D'Lo's proven to be a veteran point guard. You still got one of the best elite shooters in Clay. And then one of the most efficient bigs that we've seen in Gafford. Not to mention a top 5 player in AD. So, and with that, their bench is pretty strong with Najee, with Washington, Lively. Like they have a really good roster when healthy and everybody is kind of clicking. And what I love most about it is, as good as Cooper is, he's not asked to come in right away and, you know what I mean? Like, he gets to, it's so many, like, that's one of the best things I think a young player can have, right? Regardless of where you're drafted, skill set is good vets around you. He's coming in with some of the best vets that knows how to win, who have won, and it's a culture, I think, there with Jason Kidd being the coach. So, man, I like what Dallas got.
They do got everything. Young, the old, everything.
They do. I like it from this perspective, is that, like you said, Cooper doesn't have to come in and kind of the weight of the world is on his shoulder to have to be able to be a rookie, understand the league, and win games and get this Mavericks team to a playoffs or wherever it may be. But it's a couple things too, though. If you backtrack and look at the history with Luka and the Mavericks, it's been some tension a little bit with Nico and upstairs. And when it hit, everybody's like, "This, you can't do that." But you got to see, you got new ownership. That's not Mark Cuban.
Right.
You know, that's this whole different family. Their background is casinos, okay? They're making money in a different way. They're looking at it from the holistic business side. And they're like, hold up. Are we paying $350 million for somebody we can't trust? And that's their, Nico can't make that decision, you know, in his world by himself. Ownership got to sign. Either they go sign off on, if Nico goes to him and says, listen, we really need to sign him for $350. They got to make a decision.
Right.
Okay, and it goes both ways. So I think he got unfairly criticized for it, but he's the GM. So when you made the Gafford trade, when you made the Lively trade, when you got Clay, they patted you on the back. You got Kyrie, they patted you on the back. So when Luka come, you got to take that side of it too. Now you got a player like, I think Cooper Flagg. I got a chance to cover him in college. So I got a chance when they played at Madison Square Garden against St. John's, and I got him in the tournament. So I got a chance to really watch him play. Oh, bro, he nice. But you know what it is? He got a motor.
Yep.
And I think that's what separated him and Ace Bailey when we was talking about who's like kind of the best. I think skill set wise, they're right like this. Ace can go. But Cooper's motor is a different level, and he don't need to rock.
Yeah.
You know, he was, John Schreier, coach, was like, man, he's too unselfish. I got to goad him to have to shoot more and be selfish. Because he just, so I think his mentality is not like that, which is why I think he'll fit in perfectly with AD, with D'Lo, with Clay, with those guys, because he'll just add, I think, another layer of playmaking. He can shoot it, he can spread the floor, he can run, he's athletic, without trying to go out there and be rookie of the year.
Right.
So you're, because I've never seen Cooper Flagg play, but you've
never seen him?
No, I've never seen him
You
play
never
in
watched the
person.
game? Oh, in person.
Okay,
And
okay.
I just think that we haven't had, maybe Zion was touted, but he was more like an athletic freak. Like, do you think, when's the last time we've had a player entering the draft of Cooper Flagg's caliber? I'm curious on your take on that.
You know, I liken him to a lot like Keith Van Horn, athleticism, size, but a lot like Jason Tatum too, like a combination between the two, okay? Because the people forget how good Keith Van Horn was at Utah coming out of college. They forget about that. Athletic, 6'10", can run the floor, can shoot it. And now you combine kind of footwork with Jason Tatum, step backs, pivots, and then making plays. To me, I look at that combination, and I'm trying to think of who came in at his size at 6'10", that in the last, let's say, 10 years. You know, Brandon Ingram is a little bit different. Brandon is not making the same kind of plays that Cooper is making. So that's why it's really hard to compare. Jason Tatum, he's 6'8". Well, Jason might be 6'9", right?
Yeah. Take JT up there.
Yeah, he up there, right? So he may be as close, with regards to that, but I think the motor in which Cooper has is just different, man.
And would you say he's just as good on the defensive side of the ball? Because when I'm looking at it, it's the NBA is a different beast.
Of course.
There's better athletes. Everyone is more skilled. Yeah. And I think the comparison or the pros and cons of getting rid of Luka has been, look, Luka's an offensive juggernaut. There's no question about it. But a lot of people have their doubts on the defensive side of the ball. And here comes Cooper Flagg, where he's a two-way player. Do you think that he's going to be a two-way player in the NBA, given how talented everyone in the league is?
I say this. Talking to John Schreier, head coach at Duke, when they played St. John's, this had to be maybe December, January maybe. And a lot of it was him learning his defensive principles at that time as a freshman. Okay, learning those principles. By the time he got to the tournament, the conversation wasn't the same. He was a better defensive player because his IQ and how he played the game, how he analyzed it, and the work he put in. So to answer your question, I think he'll be just fine because he's surrounded too. You think about it, by Gafford, by Lively, by AD. Okay, now you're gonna have to, and even Clay is not the two-way player he was, but still, it's just not like Olay. So he's going to be surrounded by guys that can cover him until he gets his bearing straight on how to play because how you play defense in this league, and you were one of the best two-way players in the league, you had to figure out little nuances of how to play not just your guy, but different guys. And the way the league is now, you're switching everything.
Right.
So how you guard a power forward and a wing is going to be different how you guard a point guard. So all those nuances he'll learn, man.
I gotcha.
Yeah. The high IQ guys usually do.
Bro,
they figure it out. You know what I mean? Like they got the ability, natural talent. If the IQ is there, they're gonna piece all of that together. You give me a blueprint, cool. I'll figure it out. Like I'll work in between this.
We got Jason Kidd.
What? From a defensive perspective? Tell me about that.
No, I'm talking about he got Jason Kidd also.
Well, he's a coach.
Yeah, so he's in good shape.
He's got some
over
vets
here.
around him.
He got everything.
I'm going to move over to the Bucks, and recently, again, we saw Damian Lillard was waived after tearing his Achilles in the playoffs. The move, caught everyone off guard, including him, I'm sure. But it's another reminder just of how ruthless the business of basketball can be. And I think Melo tweeted something. I'm not sure what the tweet exactly was, but I think it was that the NBA owners, that there's just no loyalty in the NBA from the ownership side. And just want to get both of your thoughts on, Dame's situation and what does the future look like for Dame moving forward after this?
I think he's in... Because you can look at it two ways, right? You can look at it from, and I always go back to owners being smart now with this new CBA and the aprons involved, right? I keep dating back to this apron because when you see them shedding moves and shedding players around, it's because they're trying to not eat up these salaries. And you got a team that no longer, in my eyes, I think are contending when you lose someone like Dame. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen. We had conversations actually the other day in the gym of like, damn, do Giannis ask for a trade or like, what's the situation going on there? So in one way, it's like, all right, Dame, we're shedding this money. We're going to pay you your money, but then you get a chance to go and play somewhere and compete for a championship, right? We maybe think the window here is closed. You get healthy. You get a chance to go pick where you want to play. But then there's the side of, you know what I mean? We still believe in you here. We got Giannis. We got a culture. We lost Brook, but we got a young Brook and Miles Turner locked in. We can still win here. So, like, I'm trying to think of both ways. I always play devil advocate in situations. So
when y'all first heard it, what y'all think? Immediate, first thought.
I was like, they only getting rid of him because of his Achilles. That's all I was saying, and I was hot about it.
I thought it was a little crazy, but again, he's older, he's getting injured. Clearly, they're trying to move on as quickly as possible. They're trying to rip the Band-Aid off as soon as possible and move on. That's what I thought.
So, and I'm gonna ask you this question too. Do you think Giannis had anything to do with it?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I believe bringing in Miles Turner, it was part of that deal. And then a report came out that Giannis was aware of the Miles Turner trade, which therefore would mean that he was aware that Dame was up out of here. So I think he did know.
That is interesting.
See, think about it, because here's the thing about when you're a Giannis, a LeBron, in that situation that kind of controls the franchise, a Steph. A non-answer is as bad as an answer. So if you like, the coach is like, if management comes to you and says, well, what do you think about coach, or we're going to do this, or we may fire him, and your star player is like, well, you got to do what you got to do as an organization. So he's not saying he's not saying no, that you got to fire him, that you don't have to fire him, but he's not saying, yes, I advocate for him. So so a lot of times, and I'm gonna get to your point about loyalty. A lot of times it's like a player being in a situation where, look, I didn't know, I didn't say anything, I'm upset, but did you really advocate to have this person stay? Or did you just kind of let the organization, when they asked you the question, do what they had to do? And you can't play that in between. Okay? Now, loyalty. Ain't never been no loyalty in the league. So stop it. Never has been. Never will be. Because the bottom line is the bottom line in NBA and professional sports. Now, there are outliers. Look at what the Lakers did with Kobe. The back end of his career, they paid him. Okay? They paid him. Jeannie Buss took care of him. You always go have an outlier in there. Did you think it was a point where we know who Mr. Miami was, is D. Wade? What happened there? He had to leave to come back. Alonzo had to leave to come back. Okay? Time and time again, you're going to see this, because I came into this league, bro, 4th pick in the league. It was a market value. You didn't have a rookie salary cap. Shaq was 1, then Lonzo was 2, then Christian Laettner was 3. Guess what? I was 4. Mavericks didn't want to pay me. Didn't want to pay me because their draft picks 2 years before didn't pan out. I mean, what they got to do with me?
Right.
So I got the longest holdout ever in the league. Only played 28 games my rookie year. It took all my rookie year, but I wasn't going to give in. I said, because if you don't want to pay me, just trade me, or I'm going back to school. So I learned the business of basketball early. I got criticized for it. I got ostracized for it. Like, who's this rookie coming in here demanding? I said, I ain't demanding nothing. I said, my window of earning money is this. And I'm the 4th pick. I damn sure ain't taking what the 8th pick got, which they wanted to offer me. So I said, if you don't want to pay me, I'm not coming. So that taught me the business of basketball early on. And I've seen it through organizations that I've played at and played with where they'll tell you one thing, okay? They'll tell you and say one thing. But at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. And organization got to do what they got to do. The one time, I would say this when I was in Miami, right? Pat Riley is the man. I was a free agent and went there and played. The next year I was a free agent. And he said, he called me, I was living in Dallas. He called me and said, Jimmy, we got to make a move. I think you should be starting, but I got these 2 rookies we just drafted. I got to see if they can play. Well, one of them was D-Wade. Duh. You know what I'm saying? But he called me and told me.
Yeah, there was a relationship.
You see what I'm saying? He said, Jimmy, if you don't find a spot you want to go, you always can come back to Miami and play. But I want you to be able to do it, but I got to play these guys. So it's always outliers, but and as far as Dame, think about it. If I'm Dame, I'm like, where can I go? That really, can I do a 2 with a 1 year the second year is an option year, rehab, close. I'd love to see him in Minnesota, actually. But I don't know if he still want to be that far away from home rehabbing. But I think Dame would be fine, but he's going to be on the back end. But he got to understand, too, when he comes back, he got a different role to play, too, wherever he goes.
What squad do you think would like to take Dame with the situation that he has? Where you think he'll look good at?
Anywhere, bro. Like, but put him with Houston.
I like that.
That's real nice.
Now, does he play backup to Fred? Or does he, because you think about it, he's out a year, he comes back with Van Vliet.
I mean,
move Fred.
Depending on how he looks, right?
Yeah. But, I think that's true. A conversation. But you put him on that team where there is a KD.
Right.
There is, I think, there's defense around him. There's length around him. And, it's just from I always like, if it's a smaller guard, pair him with
bigger guy,
length around him. So him being on that team, you got a passing big in Sengun. You got KD, a lethal shooter. You got the Thompson twin as one of the best defenders in the game.
Yep.
Jabari Smith, length, spreads the floor like that. And there's enough youth around him that he doesn't have to carry load like that. You got Fred that can come off the bench, or you can play him in tandem, however you want to do that. But I like him in Houston. I think that's a great fit for him in Houston.
So how do you – it is interesting, too, because he's a little bit older now, coming off Achilles. We know, based on KD, that you can come back and really be effective, especially because KD didn't rely on athleticism to kind of and Dame doesn't either. He can just shoot it. But the mindset, too, I tore my ankle up. Now, when I tore mine up, it was 800 years ago. So we didn't have the technology. But when you got your injury and you had to rehab, how long did it take you mentally? Because that's with Dame, I think wherever he goes, if he does a 2-year deal, at least he's in the building with those guys. He may not be on the floor, but if he does a 2-year deal with a team, at least he's coordinated within that organization for a year. How long did it take you, like, mentally, once you knew you were healthy, to kind of get, because that's the question Dame is going to have, that's going to be asked with Dame.
Yep. So the crazy thing about when I had that injury, so I came back, and this was, compound fracture, both the tib and fib, snapped, broke skin, all of that. That happened in August, right? I came back and played April, but I was practicing in like early February. Yeah. And I was limping and hobbling around in April, but I was practicing with the team. Like I wasn't, I wasn't a full-on hour and a half, but there was some live segments just to give me confidence that I could play through it. And a lot of it was for the rehab part of it of, that leg getting some type of force going through it and learning how to cut and jump and react. So to be honest, I thought I looked bad to finish that season out, but it gave me confidence going into that summer that like, all right, if I got NBA games under my belt, I can attack this summer, 100%. So all in all, I think it was a good year turnaround for me to be completely, and mine's is different, right? Like Dame is, that's a tendon, right? That's a different type of, if I step this way, mine's is like if something hit it, am I gonna be good? His is if I take a step, is it gonna snap? Is it gonna, if I jump, can I be explosive? So my process was a little different. I don't know how you kind of can cope or get on the floor and kind of tune that out as far as, just playing basketball, because it happens from a non-basketball or a non-contact, injury. So yeah, I don't know how you get over that one. I ain't gonna lie, because it took me a year, but that was for me that year. It was if I get hit or something hit it, there's a potential chance for it to snap.
Well, I was just saying, but you were around the team, you were in the facility, you were all that. So Dame, wherever he goes, they got to look at it. Like I know Rob Dillingham is a young rookie that's up there in Minnesota. He got to be able to have some runway next year to see if he can really be his first round pick, if he can be their future. But it's some teams I think strategically out there that with Dame, does he go back to Portland and finish it? Because now he's back home, family there, rehabbing, come back, swan story, finish a career there. I know it affects Scoot Henderson, but I think it's some avenues for Dame. And think about it, now it's an offset with his contract. He get his money over 5 years, but whatever kind of deal he signed, it ain't like he getting 22 plus the new deal.
Right. Yeah.
It's an offset of salaries
within
that.
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah, it's just like coaches. Yeah. It's an offset.
Gotcha.
So if he get 10 from the new team, then the Bucks only own 12.
Yeah.
Not the whole 22.
Right.
22.5. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why it makes a ton of flexibility there.
But that's a bold move. That's the longest stretch, wave and stretch that we've seen.
Especially
but that just tells you the
superstar
mindset of an organization and what they think. Okay? Seriously. Because they thought it was good. How many people, come on, when you said Dame going to Milwaukee, first thoughts was what?
I was loving that.
Oh.
I was loving it because he was going to play with Giannis. I was loving it.
But I didn't see, P, and you were there.
Because I always thought he needed help.
But I didn't see any real coordination between them in a two-man game. Offside, pin downs between the two, movement. It was either Giannis had it or Dame had it. And how do you really exploit that and utilize that if you don't use them the right way to really force the defense in these precarious situations where you got to guard both of them at the same time? And I think that was a big flaw in why a lot of the success with Milwaukee was fleeting, because I don't think those two really offensively.
I'm a Drew Holiday loyalist, so I
thought
it was. They wanted offense. It was weird.
You think Giannis wanted something to do with that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. After
I don't
just
think so,
win it.
man. Yeah, that's
just
what
win it.
But Giannis, he said he was upset.
Yeah,
he knew about it. He wanted Dame. Hey, I'm just saying.
Well, man, you can still be upset. And
He
like you
wanted
said,
Dame.
it depends on that conversation. If he knew, maybe he did go to bat for Drew. But at the end of the day, it's not his call. I mean, as much as you want to say Giannis runs the organization, those owners are going to do what they want to do. They might come ask you for your opinion, but that doesn't mean they're going to roll with you. Like, no,
well, it depends. It depends, bro. It really does.
Say yes to that.
Especially in a small market.
In a small
like
market,
Yeah,
because you're not going to get free agents. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Giannis did it. I'm not saying that. But I think in that playoff series when they lost and they couldn't find offense, that was a big reason why Drew ended up being traded. But you go into your star player, whether you want to make the decision or not. And he gonna have to voice an opinion one way or another.
Get him out.
It's like
His
LeBron knew
Achilles.
AD was out too.
Get him out. His Achilles was not. I can't play.
He posted like a meme that on the report that Giannis knew that in the Miles Turner trade, and he posted, I think it was that Nacho Libre?
Yeah, you got to pull that up.
they're talking about how Miles Turner, Giannis knew, and then Dame posted this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I love it, man.
All right, okay.
Looks like he's taking it with the good.
He's having
good
fun.
spirit.
But for him, he probably like, listen, I'm getting paid. I'm rehabbing anyway. I'm
Make
going to be able
another
to go
album.
where I want to go.
Make another album.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not losing no money.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in the driver's seat.
He's in the driver's
He's
seat.
in the driver's seat.
Good.
If you like having guests over during the summertime or need ways to entertain the kids while they're out of school, Wayfair has you covered. Wayfair is your one-stop shop for outdoor entertaining.
Now is the best time to get large outdoor items from Wayfair. There are plenty of options for outdoor entertainment, from furniture and hot tubs to garden essentials.
Shopping with Wayfair is a hassle-free and super easy. I was able to pick up some lounge chairs with free delivery, and they all look amazing. No matter how you want your outdoor space to feel, Wayfair will help you achieve it.
Want outdoor seating? There's conversation sets and sofas. Need decor to set the scene? There's patio cushions, planters, and fireplaces.
There's something for every style and every home. No matter your space or budget, like I mentioned, delivery is free and easy even on the biggest item. Find all your outdoor must-haves in one convenient place.
Shop outdoor furniture, grills, lawn games, and way more for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to explore a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. OG, we want to transition into your career now, something we like to call story mode. This is when we talk to the OGs of the game and their insight on those classic moments and memories from their playing days.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned earlier about the situation of your holdout, right? And this was at a time there was no rookie scale.
Yep.
And so, you know, you basically were given or kind of negotiating with what the team thought was your worth. You gave a little insight about how that was, but from when you finally got a chance to get back into the game, you played 28 games, you said.
Mm-hmm.
How awkward was that situation going back into the locker room now after being drafted, and then you're coming in later into the season?
Well, it's funny because I never got a chance to be in Dallas, period. I got the press conference after I got drafted, and Donald Carter was the owner at the time. Norm Sandru was the general manager. But after that, I was back in Columbus, back in Ohio, training. So as we got closer to trying to get the deal done, nothing was getting done. So I was doing I never was there. So I never established a relationship with any of the players, the coaches, or anything. So basically, I'm running 5-on-5 at home, just trying to stay in shape.
Huh?
But here's the thing that I learned, man, about that time, and it was hard. It was extremely difficult because I'm 22 at the time, and your dream is to go play in the NBA. Okay, it's right there at your fingertips. The line is right there, but I can't get to the line. I'm close to I can't get over it because but I had to make a decision, and my agent was really good. Mark Termini was really good. Said, Jimmy, here is what's going on. Here's how it will affect you if you sign the deal they want down the line. Not just today, but how it affects you down the line and how it affects next year's fourth pick, which was Jamal Mashburn, because the market is thrown off. So I'm going to give you all these scenarios, but ultimately you got to be comfortable with what's going on, because they can come at me as an agent, but they go come at you as a player. Are you going to be able? I said, man, I can handle it. I can handle the criticism. I can handle all the negative comments because I know I'm right. And if I know I'm right, I know I'm not trying to take advantage of the situation, I can sleep at night. So, bro, now, here's the caveat. The reason why I came in game 28 is because I was about to have a lawsuit against the NBA. So it's deep because it's a word called collusion. And what happened was, at the time, we found out that David Stern had talked to these owners about paying rookies these high, big-term contracts. You can't tell an owner what to pay. So we got wind of it.
Yeah.
Because there were some trade scenarios in which Dallas could have traded me. Then they didn't. So we got wind of it, went to the Players Association and said, we want to file this lawsuit against the NBA. So my deal at the time, would have been, I got an offer from Cleveland, I think it was 6 years, 21, okay? If I won my lawsuit, Mavericks would owe me double. What do you think happened? I signed.
Yeah.
I signed.
So did they match it?
No. So they just came in with my original market rate, which was 7 years, 21, right
Got
under
it.
For the fourth.
right under for the fourth pick. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So, but I got all my money in 28 games. See, this is why I tell people to be careful when you hear stuff in the news, like your negotiations. You know this firsthand with the Clippers. Things that were being said were sometimes not actually what the conversation in that room was. So you got to be very careful when you regurgitate information that people are saying, because you don't know those intimate conversations that I had in the room with ownership, that in the public's eyes, they said, well, no, you got offered the Lakers. Why you didn't? None of that stuff happened. But I knew inside what happened. Nobody knew about the lawsuit. Then I finally signed, and I'm with the Mavericks, and Quinn Buckner is there, and management is there, and everybody's patting me on the back, and we're so happy to have you. Man, what do you think I'm thinking? Real talk.
Right, right.
I'm in my mind, I'm like, man, I'll still be at home if I didn't have this lawsuit.
Right.
That's crazy.
So think about it. So now going into it, I have no training camp, no nothing. You know the first game we played against? Defending champs was the Houston Rockets. It was Akeem. It was Vernon Maxwell. It was Kenny Smith. It was my boy Sam Cassell. It was Robert Horry. That was my first game.
Yeah.
I had like 2 or 3 days of practice.
Right.
Played, had signs in there, some boos, some cheers. Next game I played. We had 2 games at home. Phoenix Suns, Charles Barkley. We got Dan Martin. We got Kevin Johnson. Those are my first 2 introductory games in the league.
Awesome.
I did better from game to game.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that,
awesome,
though. But it was the surreal moment was this. I don't know what it was like for you the first time you got on the court. At least you got a chance to go through training camp, then go through preseason, and then play your first game. And none of that. I go from practice to put on a Mavericks uniform to walking out to boos and some cheers, playing against those guys. I mean, you talking about a head rush?
Yeah.
But I think my maturity at the time helped me handle what was coming at me. Because at the end of the day, once you get settled in, it's just basketball.
Right.
At the end of the day, even though I didn't have camp, you figure it out. And I got a chance to figure it out my rookie year. I mean, I averaged 17 points a game, and I had no training camp, had no nothing. And no against those guys. But you figure it out. But you talking about a story, bro, that one right there, but it cost me, I think, a little bit long term because I fought the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was worth it long term for me to do it. So I wouldn't change it.
And the NBA still needs you now. You dig?
But so that was in 92. You think that kind of had a part to do with them eventually coming to a rookie scale in 95?
Yeah, I do. Because when C-Webb signed the big deal, they was like, hold up. And I think right after that, Glenn Robinson did. Okay. And then it was KG that might have been the last one that did. But a lot of it too was through the union. Now I'm part of the union. I was a VP of the union back in the day. It was preserving salaries and spots, kind of like what they did with the salary cap for rookies now, that veterans would still be able to earn. So that had a lot to do with it too. And again, back then you wasn't making the TV money either.
Right. That's a whole new
So
thing
it was a
now.
little pushback from the vets that the rookies could come in and make this big money right away. Think about it. When I came in, bro, I was making $3 million a year. Michael Jordan was making 2.6. 2.6.
That's crazy.
That's real crazy.
On his deal. He got his
crazy.
big money on the back end when he got, 36 million. But at that time, Mike was making 2.6.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They giving that to
We were just talking about this the other day. Where do you think with these contracts, like where do you see the NBA contracts going? Like
Shea just got 70.
What were we talking about? Like 250 million in 2 years? Like the billion was way too much, but it's obvious. I mean, look at your contract. Look at these guys' contracts they're getting now.
Look what SGA just got.
Yep.
How much?
70.
How much of an
5 years,
incline
right?
do you think? You think this is just going to keep going up as the years go on?
It depends on TV.
Yeah,
Because you look at soccer, some of those
that's what.
$100 million, but now you're talking about globally.
Mm-hmm.
Why you think NBA is in China? Why you think they're in Brazil? Why you think they're in Africa? Why you think they're in India? Because market-wise, now that's a whole different TV market, okay? That's part of the CBA, but still merchandise,
Yeah.
all of that, the business of basketball. So if you got NBC paying $2.2 billion, okay? You got ESPN paying $2.2 billion. Now you got Amazon paying $1.8 billion to the TV rights. That's not counting what they're getting overseas in Europe. That's not counting that. That's just domestically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as those numbers increase, the salary cap increases, players' salary is going to increase. That you think franchises. Boston sells for $6 million. Well, $6 million. Lakers just sold for $10
Billion.
billion.
Yeah.
They said million.
No, billion. So Boston sold for $6 billion. So you think that somewhere, but the Lakers are so much more valuable.
Mhm.
But not how much more valuable are they than the Celtics? It's who want to pay it. So you
Right.
keep asking like, how big? We thought it was a big jump from when Mr. Ballmer bought it for $2.3 billion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's a $4 billion difference between the Celtics and the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy to think.
But I don't know. Did you think it'd be capped out one day?
I don't think so.
Hell no.
I don't think so. Because now I think we know enough
Uh-huh.
that if the TV ratings are continuing to rise, like why won't the salaries rise, right? Like if we're all in for everybody making money here, owners is for sure making their money. Why can't we make ours too? You know what I mean? We growing the game. You know, I think the with the social media now, like the players have even more power with their brands. And what I'm trying to say, like with the social media, people like we can see what he's doing. We can see what they're doing. I think that was what was limiting the game back then, right? You got big personalities. You got MJ. Like just imagine if social media was present in MJ days, how much that would have drove the game that much more.
But do you think that takes away the nostalgia? Because what made MJ and those guys special was that you didn't get a chance to
You
see
didn't
them
get
all
to
the
see
time.
him. Yeah.
You couldn't dig in their life. So when they came to a city, I spent time with them my 5th year or the second 3P with Ron Harper. So I would go to the playoff games with them.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, wasn't nothing like it.
Yeah.
No, it was nothing like it. Because of the nostalgia, because you knew
Rockstar,
Scotty,
huh?
you knew Rodman, you knew Harp, you knew Mike, but you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So when you saw them and they came out and they came to a city, it was like, this is my one opportunity. Now,
Man.
if I want to holler at P, I just hit him on
Right.
Twitter. I just hit him on Instagram.
Watch the pod.
He may respond to me or he may not.
Right. But now I got a chance to kind of get close
Exactly.
to him.
You couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's a
that
good point.
fed
That is
to
a good
the
point.
aura
That is a good point.
of that player at that time, because it kind of lended itself to a legendary status, which I think we do miss.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can give too much to people
Mm-hmm.
and they take it for granted. You know, it's just like, picture on the wall. I love that picture when I got it, but 5 years later, you don't even know it's still there because you take it for granted.
That is true. That's a good comeback right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good comeback.
Speaking of the playoffs,
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you about your time when you was in 2003 playoffs,
Ooh.
and you played tremendously against the team that drafted you.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing is, y'all lost your boy C Webb that series. And I'm looking back, I wanted to ask you, how talented was Chris Webber during the time together y'all played with the Kings?
Uh-huh.
And is he a player who gets overlooked sometimes?
First question, yes. Second question, yes, he gets overlooked. We talk about power forwards
Mm-hmm.
because of Timmy, because of, I think, Karl Malone. A lot of times, KG.
Right.
Because those are the three you kind of talk about a lot, and you forget about Chris. I'll take it back, 'cause I grew up in Toledo, so I'm 45 minutes an hour from Detroit. So I used to go play and hoop in Detroit. I met Chris when he was a sophomore in high school, and we were hooping in the summer league. I was like, man, who is this dude, right? Then I played against them, of course, in college when they were freshmen, Fab Five. They beat us in the Elite Eight in overtime. But I've watched them. And then to finally get a chance to play with them and play with that Sacramento team, and I think Paul can attest to this, it's rare that you get a team where you do everything together. We kicked it. We on Mateen Cleaves, Damon Jones was on the squad with us. We would kick it. I mean, go to a city, all of us go out to eat, or we'll connect. And Chris was a big part of that because Chris was a superstar. But he wasn't the egomaniac superstar. He was inclusive, okay? And playing with him, I thought that was the year. Mike Bibby, Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie, Peja, Soalkovich. Hito was a rookie at the time. Gerald Wallace was a rookie. So I said, oh, man. I said, Scott Pollard, my man, hope you get better. He's dealing with some health issues. I was like, we going. I mean, because the way we play, so unselfish, and to have Vlade, forgot about Vlade. And Chris anchoring everything, and the way the offense ran, nobody dominated the ball. I was like, and we get to Dallas, and Chris get hurt, man. But that just tell you how volatile Halliburton is in the playoffs. The beautiful thing about Chris is his IQ of the game. Just knowing how to pass it, how to get it to you, when to shoot it. I mean, just the little nuances of the game of basketball, I don't think he gets the credit for.
Right.
You know, that part, because they look at how dominant he was as a player, but he dominated like this too with a lot of those power forwards. And at the time, he was having some knee issues. You know, he wasn't the same Chris that he was in Washington athletic-wise. But up here, man, it made me enjoy really playing basketball again. I mean, just from a pure joy perspective, that team made me do that.
You were also a member of the 2005 Suns team, which some would argue, you know, that team kind of revolutionized how basketball is played. But you witnessed, you know, a young Joe Johnson up close, a young Amari, MVP Steve Nash. When did you know that that roster that you guys had was doing something special in basketball?
So I got there, again, on the back end of, funny story. You want to hear another story? I was with the Rockets earlier that year. I got traded. Funny story. Jeff Van Gundy was the coach at the time. So me, Ty Lue, we on the same thing. So I had like 20-something before Christmas. Jeff calls me after Christmas and said, we're making a trade, because Jeff and I were close. I was like, oh, cool. We making a trade? All right. He's like, Boston Nakbar and you getting traded to New Orleans. I was like, huh? I said, hold up. He said, what? He said, you going to New Orleans? I said, okay, that's cool. I said, I ain't going. He was like, wait. I said, I ain't going to New Orleans. He said, what do you mean? I said, I don't have to do anything. I'm not going.
Right.
So I ended up not going to New Orleans. I just stayed.
Wow. What?
I was like, I ain't going. I was like, I said, I'm tired of being traded. I said, I'm not going somewhere I don't want to go. And it wasn't the disrespectful thing. I wanted to take control of my career.
Right.
I was 33 at the time. I was like, man, I told Byron Scott and those guys at New Orleans, y'all go try to trade me or do something on off season. Why you want a disgruntled player to come? I don't want to come. Right now, where I'm at in my career. If it was 5 years early, I'd love to play for you, B. I would love to play. But right now, I'm not. Finagled my way to get to Phoenix. So I got a chance to be on that team. And Steve was unreal. Joe was at 6'8", I mean, crazy. Amari was sick. Q Rich was on the squad. Okay, sick. And the way they played, it's hard for people to understand at that time. P, you understand this. People want to run and want to play. You got to be in shape to do that. You just can't say, I want to run.
Right.
It's all the time. And with Steve navigating and negotiating, Amari and Sean Marion just a double-double. It was just, I was like, ooh.
Had a squad.
Fun,
And then guess what? Joe gets hurt in the playoffs. He had to wear the mask against San Antonio.
Remember
he gets hurt. And then next year, Joe gets he goes to Atlanta because, guess what? Earlier in that year, they could have offered and paid Joe. And they didn't. They waited to the end of the year and Joe went to Atlanta.
Walked.
But those two teams back to back, special, bro. Because special people, special players, a special time in my career where I could appreciate it a lot more.
You brought up Joe getting injured in that playoff run, but through that, you kind of, especially later in your career, you kind of stepped up and stepped into the role and was a big piece of that conference finals run. Talk to us a little bit about how fun that, you said you spoke a little bit about playing with Steve Nash, playing with Amari, Sean, Barbosa was on that team. Talk to us a little about just how fun that was. Because, I remember that. I was young. That was my days of being a big Kobe fan. And, so that was, when you guys would clash, it was like, oh, this is good. Like, my favorite gets to go up against this. How is he going to figure this out? Like, this is a juggernaut, offensive juggernaut team right here. Talk to us a little bit about that run that you had with that group. Because you mentioned how fun the Sacramento team was.
It was fun, man. It was fun. And it gave you – here's the challenge, and I think I kind of sympathized with Melo when he was going through it and kind of understood from a different perspective of going from being from here. Now, I'm not the player Melo was because I got injured early. I didn't have the run that Melo did. But to see yourself differently is a challenge for every player in the league as they get older, okay? Because if you're looking in that mirror and you see yourself at 10 years ago, you're going to have some problem because you're not that player. You're just not. I don't care what it is. And that is the dynamic that a superstar player, and I'm not saying I am, but has been in the moment, has to reconcile with himself at the end of their career. Okay, can I still add value to my team without being the guy that I once was? And that's the hardest thing to reconcile. You got to be comfortable. Vince Carter did a phenomenal job with that at the end of his career. Other players couldn't handle it. So to answer your question, I had fun because I felt I had a value at that time, and I brought something to the table with that experience, defense. My whole thing was, they got enough offense. Let me play defense. Let me get on the court. Let me end the game. How can I end the game? Forget start. How can I be in there the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game and make an impact? That was my thought process. And when I reconciled with myself that coming from Portland before, but then with Sacramento, I was like, this run, man, just winning. I didn't get to the playoffs until 98, 99 when I was in Portland lockout year. I didn't know what it felt like, bro. I just watched it on TV. I saw about it, the excitement, talking about when you get in the playoffs, it's a different game. Man, I ain't know because I didn't win. When I felt that moment, when I was in Portland, we beat Phoenix, and J. Kidd was still in Phoenix playing, that first playoff series. I was emotional because I couldn't believe, this is what NBA is. And to get back to it with Sacramento, really, and then Phoenix, and playing with those guys on that squad was special, man. And again, in our league and sports, to be able to have a group of guys, we did everything together. Our managers would come, we would do stuff together. To have that kind of camaraderie between the collective group is what makes winning special. It's not just winning games.
Right.
He'll tell you that. It's what you do on the plane and you get to the hotel and before practice and, all of that. That's what culturally goes into winning and why it's so special when you do it with the right group of people.
Yeah. I like my Indiana days, right? We wasn't the best team that I played for. We didn't have the most talent that I played for. But it was the best team I played for.
Just collectively,
right? To your point, it will be dinners where 14, 15 guys show up. I ain't never had that after I left Indiana. You know what I mean? Those days with Roy there, George there, Danny, Brandon Rush.
Was Tinsley with you?
No, I was after Tinsley.
He was after Tinsley. Right.
Yamahimi. Like, you go down the list, man. D West, everybody was there. It didn't matter what it was. We could go do an escape room. We could go to dinner. We'll go out. You know what I mean? Go out to a club. Everybody's there. So I feel like we just got so much out of each other because of that. There was conversations we could have. We could get on each other. There was a moment of pushing each other. I say that to say that when you got, obviously, as talented, both of those groups were the Phoenix Suns, the 05 Suns that you had that run with, or the run that you had with the Sacramento Kings. Which team would you say that was your best chance, or a moment that you not necessarily regret, but a moment that you think, damn, we let one get away? Sacramento.
So if C-Webb, now, Dallas at the time, Dirk was a little younger. Nick Van Exel was playing. He had a heck of a series. He dropped 41 one game in the game that they needed. But I think the roster was so balanced, depth-wise, with Sacramento. Yep. Starting 5, you had another 4 that could really come in and impact the game. And we would have played San Antonio, which I thought we matched up extremely well against, with Vlade and Chris. They offset at the time with Tim Duncan, you know what I mean, inside. I thought that was the best chance to get to a finals. Once you get there, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. It's anybody's game.
It's anybody's game. But that, to me, that 03 team, if Chris doesn't get hurt, and we still went to Game 7 against Dallas, okay, in that series. That says a lot about the team. But without your main dog, though, without him, things operate differently, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about Portland, and one of your teammates is Isaiah Ryder, known as the great J.R. Ryder.
Easy Ryder.
Man, I used to love watching that boy play. He was a very outspoken guy, and I want to know how wild was he really? Like, how wild was this man? With
I love JR. JR, you hear about the reputation for one of the greatest guys in the world, bro. Greatest personalities guys in the world. I first met JR was at Nike camp. First dude I ever saw with a ball head was JR. And JR almost got kicked out of Nike camp. You know what I'm saying? That's just JR. But Jay competitive, bro. I mean, because we competed with the same high school class. When he was at Minnesota, I'm at Dallas. You talking about 2 guards. It was Jay, Sprewell, Mitch Richmond, Mike. It was Reggie. I mean, the 2-guard position was so strong. And playing against Jay was like kind of playing against myself, especially in the post, because we posted up a lot. So tough to stop. Funny story, though. So we in Portland, but we get traded to Atlanta. Lenny Wilkins, our coach, right? So you too young for the for the Nextel flip phone. Y'all too young.
I was on Nextel.
Jackie might be a little older than you think.
I'm 43, man.
My dude.
Come on,
you look good, man.
Thank you.
Drinking all that sugar, though, man.
Come on.
That's what you, man. Because you remember the Nextel flip phone?
Yeah, I had one.
Hey, we remember the Nextel.
I don't know if you remember Nextel.
They don't remember.
To chirp. So we in practice, right? Lenny Wilkins, our coach. Jay sometimes was sauntering a little late, even though he stayed at the Omni and can walk right in. Sometimes he would do that. So we in there, dude, the flip part is broke. So the speaker's on. So we stretching. Jay's in there having a conversation. Lenny don't know what to do, bro. Because Lenny Wilkins so damn cool. Jay just having the conversation. He's like, man, whatever. But that was Jay.
Yeah.
He gonna give it to you.
Right.
But he go have the other side too, and he'll tell you. He go have the other side. But I love my time. I got a chance to spend with him in Portland, and we got traded together actually in Atlanta, man.
Did you hear about the story Rasheed Wallace said about
him talking to Mike?
When he was talking trash to Mike and he went to the bench, and he said, and when he went to the bench, JR said, hey, man, quit talking smack to this dude because you don't got to guard him. So that had to be a funny moment, but I want to ask you, do you got any stories with, the time you was in the NBA with a story with Michael Jordan or anything?
Yeah. So Sam Cassell and I together in Jersey. Calipari's our coach, his rookie year. We play him in Jersey and beat him. Sam got like 24, I got 25. We beat him. So we go to Chicago and play him. And we talking cash, right? We because of what happened. So at the time it was a referee called, his name was Steve Javie. Okay. So Steve Javie. I'm guarding Mike, right? And we would go at it, but come on, this is Mike. but I ain't go, we still got to play the game. Right. So we playing, and Mike go to his patented turnaround jump shot. And as we running back down the court on the left-hand side, he's yelling at Steve like, man, why you ain't called a foul? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I ain't foul you.
Right.
Steve Jabber was like, well, I thought you was going to blow by him. I said, blow by who? I said, I can play D.
Yeah.
Right? And Mike said, man, you can't guard him. I said, Mike, you can't guard me.
Yeah.
So we start going back and forth. I'm on the free throw line, hitting shots. Dudes at home said, man, what was you saying? We might just talking. I said, man, I'm guarding you. Won't you guard me?
Yeah.
Whatever. End of the game, I ended with 33, right? Mike had 37. We lost.
Yeah.
So Joe Klein, who played with us, who played used to play for the Bulls, we going through the handshake line, and Joe went up to Mike and said, man, you leave my young fella alone. He said, man, JJ my guy, but just tell him that's why he wearing my shoes.
Everybody got a story about them shoes.
Bro, I had no jump mans though.
Yeah.
I said, tell him I ain't taking them off either. But that was the thing about Mike was this. He talked cash.
Yeah.
They say that.
No, bro.
The king of it.
Cash. I was in Philly. We in preseason playing down in North Carolina at Dean Dome. We going at it talking. I said, man, stop complaining so much, man. You get every foul anyway. He said, so? Stop fouling me.
Yeah.
Who is the worst, you think? Gary Payton or Jordan?
Gary different, bro.
Gary
antagonist,
Gary
man.
Payton.
He antagonist,
Yeah.
GP an antagonist, man.
Yeah.
He an antagonist, bro.
trying to get
Mike
under
try
your
to go
skin.
for you. GP just all up in you the whole time.
The whole game.
Michael strategically talks to you.
Yeah.
Once you get GP started, forget about it, bro.
Yeah, it's over.
He right here. He right here.
All
That's
day.
GP. He right there.
I had to check Mike, man. Hey, can't be calling me no hoe out here. Hold that hoe. Take that hoe.
Oh, no,
That's what Jordan was saying. Calling people hoes.
Bro, take all of this.
Yeah, that's MJ shit.
I mean, that's his.
Take that hoe.
Oh my God.
Like, hey, MJ.
Bro, like, man.
Bro, I'm telling you, but it's a surreal story. I didn't get a chance to play him because I was a rookie and I held out. Next year, he retires. So I didn't get a chance to play with him. Time I get a chance to play with him, I done tore my ankle up.
Yeah.
So I ain't the same player, right? Because I wanted to play him when I was fully, but I didn't. So the first time I get a chance to play against, we play in Dallas. This is my man. And I worked at his camp when I was coming out of college. I swear to God, man, the game started and we were playing. It seemed like just was me and him on the court. Like nobody else in the stands, nobody else for about a 15-second period. It was just, man, I'm on the court with Mike.
Yeah.
And it was just, I didn't hear nothing. I just saw a 23 red jersey, him, sweaty, chewing his gum, some fresh J's on. I'm like,
yeah.
All right, then I snapped out of it. But for about a 15-second period, that's that aura that Mike had.
Yep. I was gonna ask you that too. Like, because there's got to be a blackout moment of
blackout, bro. That was my blackout
y'all
moment.
two jawing back and forth, and you like, shit, I'm caught in this.
But even before that,
you was ready though.
But this is for the game jump ball.
Yeah.
And then I'm guarding them, or I'm on the other side. It's just I'm like,
Michael Jordan.
Bro, it was a blackout. It felt like 15, probably only 5 or 6 seconds, but it felt longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that was my first time to be able to play against one of the players I looked up to growing up, and had this. He was. I don't think people understand that time period and what it meant when Mike came to town and you played against Mike.
It's to be on the court.
Bro,
It's like Kobe.
It is
your story.
Yeah.
How you blacked out.
Yeah, it was.
Was
for me,
it?
Yeah, I mean, well, because I got to play Kobe when I was, my rookie year, my second year, kind of young, so I wasn't really, the Paul George that came to himself yet. And then when I was able to play Kobe at that moment, it was Kobe's last year. So he was, he was kind of trying to get through that last season. So he was sitting some games off.
Right.
Or, he was trying to manage but still finish that season. So I'm in Indy. We know Lakers coming to town, but I'm tracking it. Kobe missed this game. Kobe missed that game. Get to Indiana. Kobe playing tonight. Yes. So, and it was a blackout moment. Like, I knew this is my last chance I get to play against him. I got Kobe. Like, don't nobody match up with Kobe. It's me and him tonight.
Did you know the night before or just the day of the game?
So he was like probable the night before.
I know you.
And then the day of the game, Cole playing. So I'm prepared regardless. Like, but it's like, man, I hope he played. And then I knew early that he was playing.
Okay.
Like it was like at shoot around. Kobe's in tonight. We're going through the walkthrough. We're going through, what Kobe gets in and stuff like that. But it was a blackout moment. Like, damn, I get Kobe tonight, and this is my last opportunity. So it was a one-on-one. Like it was a one-on-one, and I for sure as hell wanted to beat Kobe, and we was able to win.
Okay,
it was one of those iconic games, for me as far as going back and forth, late in game.
And that's when you had to guard him because he wasn't switching a lot.
It wasn't no switching,
like that. You know what I mean? Like now it's easy to switch. Back then, 90% of the time you were guarding Kobe.
Yep. And it was what was so crazy is like Kobe was kind of off the whole game. But then it was like the Kobe moment. Yeah, it was the stretch where it was like the last 3-4 minutes. And I kid you not, he did not miss a shot. Like deep threes, contested threes, coming off pin downs, threes. It was a moment and it was the flash of like, damn, this is I could only imagine if this was 5 years, 10 years before what this was. Because he was hitting me shit with like no dribbles.
Right?
Footwork, just creating space. I'm like, God damn.
Yep.
And then, you know how good the Lakers fans travel.
Yo.
So we in Indiana, it was like 50-50. So he's getting
and that's bad in Indiana.
That's bad in Indiana. It's like 50-50.
And look, here they go.
This was when it was when they came to Indy.
Look, P on me too.
This one.
P didn't want to
stop.
Cool.
Got your ass. Easy.
It was an iconic game in LA as well.
Wow.
So it was actually
you was
cool.
right there too.
Yeah.
Chasing him.
It was actually cool, both of them.
Love them outfit.
It was just a fun moment, man.
Yeah, man.
It was like I didn't get tired. There was
Look at him.
And look at what he laughed.
At that point, you got this fresh. Okay, I see the part right
You
here.
know what I mean? So smooth for the haircut.
Yeah, but at that point, with guys like that, man, what you gonna do, man?
Yeah.
I mean,
You live in the moment.
You live in the moment.
Yeah. He laughed at that situation because we were talking defensively.
How to guard it?
Yeah, we was going over that, and so
That didn't work.
It was miscommunication. It was miscommunication, which got him a little free on that, and so. And he Cole listening to the whole conversation I'm having with my teammate.
Yeah, stupid ass.
And so
And
so I'm at the line and I'm like, fuck. And so he caught me at that moment laughing about the situation. Shout out Cole, man. RP to the late Bean. But you got to, be a part of that team with the Lakers in 05-06 after, I think you were traded that year from Phoenix to the Lakers. You got a chance to be there with Cole. And actually, fun fact, you were the last person to wear 24 before Kobe switched to number 24. What's your memories playing alongside Kobe and on that Lakers team?
It was short-lived. It was great because I got a chance to meet Kobe when he came here at 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to come here to L.A. to work out. So he was really good friends with my guy Dougie D at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he and his sisters, I got pictures right now still when Kobe was 18, when he first got to L.A. So to watch him grow, and I'm not saying I was best friends with him or anything like that, but to finally be on the team with him was just like a surreal moment because I knew his makeup and why he was and why he was so maniacal in my mind to the Kobe Bryant and why he actually changed his number. He wanted to change it that year to 24, but he waited too late. You know how you gotta submit the jersey early, and it was too late, so he had to wait a year.
Got it.
And that's how I had it. But the interesting part about this was Kobe and I never hung out before. We knew each other. We competed. We had respect for each other, had mad respect for Kobe. But we started to hang out a little bit when I was on the team. I'm older. And I knew he liked steaks before the game. So I said, bro, let me take you to a couple spots on the road that we can go to. And we would do it a couple times. And then his security, he had 2 security guards. One of them came up to me one time and said, Kobe you don't do this. I said, what do you mean? I said, I go with my teammates out. He said, Kobe don't. I said, well, I'm going out. So if he want to come, but I got a chance to sit during that short period of time and get behind not number 24, not number 8, but Kobe. And to me, that's as valuable as anything in the world. We got a lot of time to talk about just life and his philosophy and how he got to certain points. We even touched on Denver a little bit of how it affected him. Okay, we didn't go deep because that ain't none of my business. I ain't asking it. If you want to divulge it and we can talk about it, fine. But it was the mindset of going through that period of uncertainty of what was going to happen, but how he still had to be a professional, how he had to deal with his family, all of that. So to be able to, at the end of my career, cap it off by spending time with that man and getting to know him, not the basketball player. I knew who he was as a basketball player, but as an individual, to kind of watch him work, even though it was later in the year in practice, but to watch him, how he prepared for games and how he looked at things and analyzed, it was special, man.
Yeah. So you finished that season with a loss to Phoenix in a Game 7, right? You guys up 3-1, lose a Game 7, but that Game 7 wasn't no regular Game 7, especially for a guy like Kobe. Talk to us a little bit about what was kind of going on, because Game 7, Kobe, him not being aggressive, that's never in the same category.
He didn't shoot the fourth quarter.
Exactly. What was kind of, from your outside perspective, or maybe you knew kind of what was going on in the thick of things, what Kobe mindset was in that situation? Because it had to be weird, like, Kobe, shoot the fucking ball. Like, what do you?
But you got to back up, because when I was with Phoenix earlier that year and came to the Lakers. So we go up 3-1. I'm talking to my boys in Phoenix. You know, I'm like, exit first round, right? So it's Game 5. So Game 5 is in Phoenix. And I tell the guy, I said, listen, man, we got to win Game 5, okay? Because we got to get this series over with. And Smush Park had done a phenomenal job in the first 4 games on Steve Nash, just into him. Because the whole game plan was to make Steve work and not help as much to give up those threes, right? And it was working. Smush was all up into him. Smush was long, athletic. But then some things changed where Smush started to get outside of his game and things start to change. And LO was on the team at the time. And surprisingly to me, Brian Shaw was assistant coach on the team with us, with the Clippers. Phil and them let him kind of get away with it, and Kobe was pissed. That's what really got Kobe mad.
That's what sparked it.
Was watching that we up 3-1. So we get back Game 6. I'm like, bruh, we can't go back Game 7 to Phoenix. Cancel Christmas if we do. Man, Kobe hit this, bro, we go back Game 7. Aaron McKee was on the team. And ironically, here's the thing. We noticed it, but we didn't notice it in the fourth quarter because we getting drilled too. But it was a culmination of a couple of things leading up to that fourth quarter to why Kobe felt like that, because guys got outside of their parameters of who they were and why we were up 3-1, and nothing was being done about it. So I think Kobe at that time, and I don't want to talk for him, was proving a point.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take this and you got to get on this and stop the bleeding early. And I was surprised that Phil let it fester just based on who I thought Phil was as a coach, that would be cut off right away. But that's what I think led up to it, because Aaron McKee and I were sitting there on the bench like, we didn't realize it at first. And then we was like, hold up. Dude he ain't shooting. He ain't even looking. And it was crazy because before you knew it, the game was over, and you look at the stat sheet, he ain't shooting the 4. We're like, but in real time, you didn't realize it because the game was going, but then you knew something was off, like Kobe ain't really being aggressive. This ain't game 7. But I think it was in my opinion, proving the point to the coaching staff.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was what was so crazy about it. It wasn't like he was getting trapped and doubled and the ball had to get out his hands. He was invitingly swinging it. Like,
he was like, "Oh, you think you can win it? You think you can do this? Go ahead."
Yeah,
that's what I think more of it was that aspect. Yeah, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. I was like, storage people. I mean, moving people. Come get my stuff, man. I'm heading back.
Yeah. Did that end up being? Was that your last?
Yeah, it's my last.
Okay.
And I hated it too because I got so fed up with just little stuff of the game, of organizations, of hearing one thing and saying something else, and I was just like, man, I could have played a couple more years, but I didn't know mentally.
Yeah.
If I could just handle just being okay with not playing or being a supplemental player. If you just tell me the truth, you tell me what's going on, let me prepare my mind. That's something that didn't happen in Phoenix, and I told Mike D'Antoni that. I said, bro, you go do what you need to do, play who you need to play. But just tell me what's going on.
Right.
I've been in this league too long.
Right.
I'm still gonna come work. We still gonna do all these little things. Like I had Barbosa and Amari, different guys. We do workout sessions before practice. I said, I still gonna do all that. But when you tell me one thing and then you do something else, or you don't talk to me when you've been talking to me, now we gonna have a problem.
Right.
And that's the thing that, and you know, as you get older and mature in this league, hopefully for you, you can find yourself winning a championship, be in a situation, and retire the way you want to. But 99% of us don't retire the way we want. We can't just walk out the door. I think it was even hard for Kobe, as much as he accomplished, to leave the game. Let alone somebody like myself who got older, probably didn't have a lot of options, kind of got forced out the league. And I think that's what a lot of players post their career deal with, is that they didn't get a chance to leave the league the way they wanted to, which is a tough thing.
Well, I don't know if y'all seen the great Tony Parker the other day. Recently just said that this had to be the most pettiest thing I think Kobe was doing at this point, if you can do something this petty. He went to go learn French to trash talk Tony Parker in games. And if that ain't petty, I don't know what is. But with that said, I want to ask you, the times that when you was in the league and you knew Kobe, was there any run-ins you got that you can remember, or anything off the court that you got, like a story like that or something?
No, just in the game. I mean, Kobe was just maniacal, man. We're playing, and I'll tell you about competitor, okay? Game, and it's the same thing with Mike. He want to get the foul. I said, man, you getting all the calls, man. Why are you complaining to the ref all the time?
And
right?
you getting all the calls.
All the time. So now, here's how competitive he is. We in practice in LA, playing a shooting game, 5 spots. You make 3, you can continue. So it's all about how many threes you can make in a row. Bottom line is Steve Nash had like 20-something. So Kobe here is talking about it. Kobe said, I want to play. I said, you play 500.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to play.
Right.
So it goes on the course of the year, and he don't really play. Then one day he come in talking about, I can beat you. I said, man, just where my 500 at, right? He said, oh, don't let me get lathered up. I said, man, get lathered up so we can go play this game. I said, I can shoot.
Yeah.
I don't care about all that other stuff.
Right.
Kobe started shooting. How many I got? I said, man, until you get about 15 in a row, I really ain't counting. Right? So then Kobe started getting competitive.
He started getting lathered up.
What? But you can't hold me. You can't. I said, man, this ain't got nothing to do with the shooting game.
Yeah.
My 500. So we get to practice. And so Aaron McKee is on the sideline and Kobe still. I said, all right. Since you was talking all that, I said, Aaron, watch this. I'm guarding Kobe. Every time he got the ball, just hacking it. Just hacking it for no reason. No reason whatsoever. Because he wanted to come take our game because he thought he could win.
Yeah.
In their practice, I said, dog, you tested me. I'm cool with you, but you still owe me that 500, though. You still owe me that 500.
Did you get it?
No, I ain't never got that money, man. But piece up the Kobe. But that's how he thought he could win and do everything.
Everything, yeah.
everything.
Mama mentality.
Yeah, bro.
Before we wrap, we're going to run a segment called Keeping It Real with Jim. OG, we know you played for a couple teams across the league.
Mm-hmm. Time 6.
At one point, holding the record with 12.
No, time 6. Ish Smith's my man. I love Ish. Ish got the title. As soon as I saw Ish, I said, bro, you my favorite player.
You on the
I
same?
said, you my favorite player.
Ish got the title.
Yep.
But along the way, you've played with some great teammates. You've been on some historic teams. In this segment, we'll throw out a series of questions.
Okay.
You'll have to keep it real with us by answering with the first teammate or first word that comes to mind.
All right.
Question number 1. We've heard a lot about Heat culture over the years. You played there in 02. So fill in the blank here. My experience with the Heat culture is blank.
Phenomenal.
Why is that?
Because it's all about profession, bro. It's
Okay.
hard, like life. Pat treats you like a professional, but they take care of you. I was only there for 1 year. They still take care of me to this day. It was brutal going through it,
Yeah.
but you do your job, Pat take care of you.
Love that.
Mickey Erickson take care of you.
Love that. Once a Heat, always a Heat.
Yeah, man.
You played with AI, Kobe, T-Mac. Every offensive killer shares this trait, blank.
They share a short memory.
Yeah.
Whatever just happened, they let it go.
They move on.
They move on it.
Yeah.
Gotta have a short memory, bro.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
All in different ways,
Yeah.
but it's like whatever just happened, last minute,
They
last
move
game,
on quick,
last
huh?
shot, don't matter. Give me the rock and let me do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could be 0 for 8, 0 for 10, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Short-term memory, bro.
That's dangerous. You played with Steve Nash, J. Kidd, Andre Miller. All are obviously amazing floor generals. The smartest, most cerebral player you've ever played with is
J. Kidd.
J. Kidd.
J. Kidd didn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
Didn't talk a lot. Not
How?
during that time.
Yeah,
It's
but-
crazy, right?
But how if he's that good of a floor general and he's kind of to himself? Yeah.
Run.
Yeah. I'm going to get it to you.
Okay.
So you learn right away,
Yeah.
eyes up.
Yeah.
Man, he took, Mash and I both averaged 19, hit my second year, his first year, to 25 and 24 the next year because of J. Kidd.
Because of J. Kidd.
Okay?
Wasn't saying shit, but getting y'all right where y'all need to go.
Go. I got it, then go.
Yeah. He's got to be the standalone at that position, though. Because a lot of the point guards are the personalities, right? And you got someone that doesn't talk as much or was a little
I was more vocal
quiet.
than J. Kidd.
Yeah.
You know, but he saw plays 2 or 3 moves in advance. And, you know, and he thought the game differently. And the way our offense was set, it allowed J. Kidd to kind of really read the defense. Even though we had set plays, it was a lot of reads off of J. Kidd and what he needed to do. And that's what made him so special.
Got it. Number 4, we got the best shooters you've played with. Obviously, you played with Peja, Jason Terry, Tim Legler. Who is the best shooter that you've played with?
Peja.
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 Peja
At
did have a
6'8",
strap.
6'9",
Yup.
bro.
Peja did have
And
a
it
strap.
didn't take a lot for him to get it off either. That's the beautiful part about it. He turned into it and catch it. The thing was going up.
Yeah. Yeah. That trigger was just quick.
Oh, it was quick, bro.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
At a
But it
time
was
where you're
from
not
here,
shooting
too,
that
though.
many. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was weird because it wasn't like
Yeah,
like
he had
Clay
a
and Steph
sick
catch it
shot.
here. His kind of wind, but
It was, lethal.
he had a little step back and then got a shot off going left. He was going to his left so he can step back. Boom.
OG, we want to thank you for your time. That is a wrap on the
man.
episode.
I appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you.
man.
Another
Appreciate it.
awesome story mode. Appreciate you, bro.
No, I appreciate you. Golf game, baby.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
gotta
we
go.
gotta line that up.
You got to give me strokes.
We gotta go.
I'm old, man. I got to give me strokes.